All right, welcome everybody. It's May 27th, getting towards the end of May here. Welcome to another Water Cooler Wednesday. And I've got a pretty darn interesting topic here again, once again for you, always bringing you good content on these. Joined as always by Dwayne Gibbs.
Good
What's
morning.
happening?
Good morning. Morning.
All right. Hey, I've got a really interesting case study that I was working on with one of my students, and this is somebody who's been with me now for gosh, I'm guessing 5 years, somewhere right
Mm,
in there, give or take.
yeah.
And he's done quite a number of performing notes and wanted to delve into some non-performing notes. Got a little
Mm.
taste of that.
How's that
He's
going?
now starting to go to the national conventions. You and I met him at DME.
Yeah.
He was on stage and on a panel, that sort of thing. So
Yep.
really into it, even though it's not his main field. Still has his regular job and that sort of thing, but really enjoys this and does a good job. And he's like a lot of my people, when you're with me for a while, you learn so much more quickly. I don't know if I said that right. You learn quickly, and it's all life lessons and everything else. So you're just accelerating, and he's done that. He's been to the point for a couple of years now where he doesn't need me on a weekly basis or anything like that. He doesn't need me to help him find deals. He knows where to go to find deals. He doesn't need me to run the numbers with him. He knows how to run the numbers. He doesn't need me to get the documents together and do that sort of thing. So what he gets together with me on and what he pays me for is reviewing deals. He found this deal and it's a seller finance mom and pop note. And he said, "Hey, I just want to go over it with you and make sure, I haven't missed anything, and that's a smart thing to do because sometimes some things that might even be obvious to someone else may be different because you were told one thing and your eyes just kind of scan these documents, so it's not a bad idea to have it run by somebody else. And, as we started to go through it, we discovered something pretty big. And then that led to more discovery and really just picked apart this document. And in this industry, everybody, we that's what we're buying is the agreements. We're buying that paperwork, So you've got to know what's in there because whatever's in there, that's how it is. That's what you're buying. That's what you're carrying forward into the future. And that future might be 10, 20 years. So you darn well better know what's in there, what your rights and obligations are, what the borrower's rights and obligations are, if it is papered up correctly in that particular state, if any documents are missing. I mean, the time to do all that is before you buy the note, because what you don't want to do is have that thing go bad. And then 5 years down the road, you're going, wow, this is going to cost me a lot of money to try to fix this. I might still win at the end of the day, but it's going to cost me a lot more. I should have spent more time doing the due diligence or going over it with somebody like myself with another set of eyes, and so we did that, and I was really surprised at what we discovered here. So I'm going to share that with you today. So I'm not going to show you the actual documents and that sort of thing. It's a live deal. There's way too much to black out, with names and things like that. So I'm just going to go through it and explain what the documents did and did not do. So I'm calling this one today, Beware. I'm going to give away the punchline here in the very beginning, but beware of borrower created notes and mortgages. So, first of all, why would a borrower create the note in mortgage? Because there's real estate investors who understand when you have motivated sellers who want to sell their property, if you can negotiate terms with them, you can buy up a lot more property with less cash out of your pocket, probably get attractive interest rates because they don't understand the business. The real estate investor does. And that's where you see some of these 0% interest rate loans that just when people go to resell them just get crushed through discounts. And so you do see this. where the transaction wasn't led by a property seller, it was led by a real estate investor borrower. And that borrower is seeking out these motivated sellers, making attractive terms that are, shocker, written in favor of the borrower, not the lender. And the lenders have no idea. Because in this case, the party that drew up the contract was not the real estate investor or the owner of the trust in this case, it was their attorney. But it's the same thing, right? I mean, who is the attorney being paid by? And so whose best interest are they looking to? Well, the borrower. Can't blame the attorney for that. The borrower is their client. Write me up a contract here that looks out for my best interest. So um, really, really wild. So when we first started looking at the document, I hadn't discovered yet, by the way, that it was the borrower's attorneys that did that. That was something that was discovered a little bit later on, and then everything fell into place. It's like, oh well, no wonder, because when my student is looking at buying this, again, he's stepping in the shoes of the other lender. So you've got to be aware of what shoes you're stepping into here. So here are some of the main points on this. Oh, I had bullet points, but all right, I missed one there. So first of all, on line item number one, there was no note in this case, just a security instrument. Okay. Your mind, everybody, should go to, well, is that okay in that state? So part one is that okay? Is that a requirement, in other words? Is it required in that state to have a note with a security instrument like a mortgage or a deed of trust? In this particular state, it was not required. Recommended, standard, but not required. So for some people, you would leave it at that because that's what your experience would only tell you. My experience goes to the next level, which is okay, so it's not required, but what if I go to foreclose later on? Oh, well then, yeah, you really need one. So it's really crazy when you research this stuff, you got to ask the right questions, everybody. And so no, you don't have to have it in that state. And again, I don't know how many times I've said this, Dwayne, and you've had to hear this, but everything's great as long as they're paying.
Oh yeah.
No,
Until they're
you don't need
not.
a note. You can just have security instrument, and as long as you're paying it, oh, it's all good.
Till they're not.
Yep. And then it's not. And then you're trying to foreclose. And then their attorney's going to come around and say, where's the proof of the debt? Where is it? Where's the note? Now, you may end up winning because of preponderance of evidence where by their actions they were paying on a note, you may win. But I'm just telling you, it's going to cost you a lot more money. It's going to cost you a lot more time because you didn't take 5 minutes today, everybody. I just went to AI, looked it up on state law. Within 5 minutes, had the answers to both of those questions. And obviously, they need to have a note because you're not going to buy it and then have this thing go wrong down the road and now face this huge legal uphill battle because you didn't have a note. So we weren't quite sure, well, did they never create a note or was the note created, but they just didn't put that in the due diligence file because they can't find it? Well, we could do a lost affidavit. So I researched the lost affidavit in that state as well. And that would be a decent enough cure within it. Now, in this particular case, this became more important because this loan language was so messed up. It was, and I read this to my client. I said, oh, this is an interest only loan at 3% with a balloon. He's like, huh? He's like, no, this is a 10-year amortized loan. I'm like, not what the document says. The document said interest only 3% with a balloon and a specific date on when that balloon was due, which is
Oh,
not important. I can't remember what it was. That's what the language of the note said. Now, they've been making payments on this thing for 2 years, Dwayne, but if you run the numbers on the payment and you
It
say,
doesn't show that.
oh, let's
Yeah.
make it a 10-year loan and fully amortize it, then the numbers come out perfectly.
Yeah.
But they absolutely don't come out on an interest only 3% loan because the payments would have been like 100 something a month versus $600 a month. It's like, whoa, I said that's a major, major issue because now
Hmm.
it's in dispute. So now we've got this is what it says, this is what that person was paying. That person could say, yeah, I was paying the 600 a month extra to pay down that balloon, in the
Yeah.
future. And they could just argue that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
The other argument would be, well, if you run the payments, how come it comes out to exactly 10 years where you're paying on the 608, 11 per month? And that sort of stuff. But look, if it's a self-service loan, it's not like you're sending them statements every month and here's what your balance is and all that kind of stuff. So again, almost certainly that was a drafting error, meaning maybe that was discussed initially, and then the lender said, no, 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 I'm not going to do interest only with a balloon. Let's do an amortization over the 10 years. But the attorney never got the word of that or whatever. But the document was contradictory because the part of it made it sound like it was interest only. The other part made it sound like it was not. And you cannot have that ambiguity in there, especially without item number one, which was there's no note. See, normally everybody, the note talks about the payback. How much is being borrowed? What's the interest rate? What's the penalties? What's this? What's that? All of that. That does not have to be in the security agreement, and the security agreement is going to be public record. So the security agreement sometimes just says, as referenced by a promissory note written on this particular day. And that's why it's important to have that so you know what's in there. So there's no way I would buy that note with that verbiage. Is it
Mm.
correctable? Sure, of course it is. Does the correction require the lender signature, the borrower signature, or both? That becomes the question. Anytime you're changing effective terms of the note, a payment amount, an obligation that they have to do, you can't do that without the borrower's permission. You're making I'll think of the word in a minute, but you're making a change to that document. That is a material fact. You can't just do that. In other words, if the note and mortgage say there is no escrow, you can't buy that note and say, hey, you have to 100% take escrow. You can ask if they want to voluntarily do that or okay that,
You just
sure,
can't change it.
but you can't force it on them
Right.
because it's a material fact that's not in the document, that sort of stuff. So on something like this, for clarification, 100% borrower and lender are going to have to re-sign on that. Now, so there's a corrective document. And of course, my advice would be, which is super logical, you go back to this attorney and go, dude, you wrote this up wrong. So fix it, have both parties re-sign on the thing. And there shouldn't be a cost for something like that. Poorly written. So anyhow, that's what it was. So look, even if these are written by attorneys, everybody,
Because they
they're
all
not
make
immune to making
mistakes. Yeah,
mistakes.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
they're really not.
exactly right.
Yeah, and certainly in this business, there's a lot of real estate attorneys that just do cookie cutter title work, Fannie Mae stuff, home sales, and you get them involved in notes, they're on new ground. You probably know more about notes than they do. And you don't want them to learn about the note business on your dime, so to speak. So the next one on there, no due on sale clause. Okay. So first of all, what's a due on sale clause for those who don't know? The due on sale clause, all of you, if you look at your mortgage on your regular home, if you borrowed money from Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Rocket Mortgage, whatever, there's a due on sale clause there. Say when you sell this house, if the deed changes hands, you got to pay us off in full, right? Sure. You got to pay off the underlying mortgage. You sold your house, it goes to a closing. you get the equity in the property. So the equity is what you got minus what you have to owe on that payoff on that loan. So that's where the payoff letter comes in, and then that's the money left over. That's yours. Okay. So the due on sale clause effectively ends that loan with that borrower upon the sale of the property. Simple.
Hmm.
Not in there.
How's it not in there?
It's just not in there. So what does that mean for your loan? Think about that, everybody. What does that mean? You bought this loan, let's say, and now the person sells the property to somebody else. You can't go in there and demand payment in full. So effectively, you've written an assumable mortgage because they could sell the property to somebody else and just say, yeah, the lien's still there. You still have claim on the lien. You still are entitled to the payments. It's just now you've got somebody else who owns the property. And if you're not paid, you could still foreclose on the property, but you don't know who's going to pay you. Is
Mm,
it going to be the person who sold the property? No, it's going to be the new person in there. So they're
mm.
just going to start paying on the loan. You didn't run your due diligence with them. You had no say as to who they sold the property to. Now you just got new people in there that have effectively taken over making making the payments. Oh God. Now that's a material fact. If the language in this loan gets changed and they clean up this interest only versus the amortized loan, and they add a due on sale clause in there, the borrower would absolutely have to sign off on that.
Absolutely.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Your loan could go on if just
Infinite.
sale after sale. Now, again, I suppose if you're being paid and everything is good, fine. But wouldn't it be nice to have that option? To go, okay, this person's selling the house and they want this other person to take over my loan. Wouldn't it be nicer to have that option to say, no, pay me off, do on and enact the due on sale clause, or go, well, I don't know. Let me run these people through underwriting and see if they qualify, before I allow that. So that's why you want that due on sale clause in there. Absolutely. Uh, no late fee was in there. Here's a weird thing on the late fee. So no mention of a late fee at all. But somehow the lender was telling my student that he would charge $100 if the guy was late. There's no mention of $100. There's not even a thing in there that says late fees. So sorry, folks, you can't charge a late fee if it's not in there. So think about that. They could be late over and over again, and there's no penalty on their part. Late fees are meant to penalize. It's to change bad behavior. The bad behavior that they're not paying you on time. If you don't pay me on time, there's a penalty to that. So pay me on time. If there's no late fee, people go, I'll get them next month. It's still the same
Unbelievable.
pay. It's still the same payment. So why would I, why would I do that? Oh man. Oh, yeah. All right. Most of the time, these contracts have in there that you got to pay property. The borrower has to pay property insurance. They have to pay property taxes, and they have to keep it in good repair. This one had property insurance and property taxes. Nothing about keeping the property in good repair. Okay. Deal killer? No,
Not
we can always discount maybe that one away,
really.
but that property's your collateral,
Yes.
you know? So it's again nice to have that clause in there. Most every time you see it, it's going to be in there. Insurance, taxes, and good repair is in there for a reason. Again, to change potentially bad behavior. In other words, it's a foreclosable offense if they don't pay property insurance. It's a foreclosable offense if they don't pay in taxes. If it's a foreclosable offense if they don't keep it in good repair. In this case, nope, just property taxes and just insurance. And speaking of insurance, all they had in there was you got to keep fire, lightning, and tornado.
Ooh.
That was it.
Mm.
That's narrow, baby.
Wow.
What if someone gets hurt? Maybe they have insurance, maybe maybe they don't. Now, again, this is the type of security agreement we don't have ownership, so we're okay there. But they're talking about a type of hazard insurance, but not even, other damage. I mean, it's way too thin. And by the way, no amount of insurance. So how much fire and lightning insurance do they need? How much tornado insurance do they need? Kind of leaves it up to them.
Mm.
So borrower friendly? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Written up by the mortgage E's attorney is what I meant to put there. The mortgage E, nope. The mortgage or's attorney. Mortgage E's attorney or mortgage.
Er.
Yeah. Okay. So the E's receive every, whoops, I'll fix that later. Fix that in post, as they said. So the mortgagee receives the mortgage, right? So the mortgage or is the one paying on the mortgage. So when you have deals that are not created in favor of the lender, you really have to look at those. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this story certainly points out all of those because every one of those, I'm like, phew, we need, and on top of this, as I said, there are things that everything is fixable here. Okay. But this chart illustrates, do we need the borrower's signature? For the interest only in the blue? Yes. For the due on sale clause added? Yes. For property maintenance? Yes. For escrow required for taxes and insurance? Yes. To broaden the insurance covenant to cover homeowners and flood? Yes. If we ask for a personal guarantee? Yes. That would require the borrower's signature. So they got to go all the way back to do all that sort of stuff. It could all be corrected, but again, it is a material change. And when you have something like that, it's, it's going to require some legwork. The time to do it is now, not when you buy that note. If you buy that note now, you have to go back to that borrower and you got to get everything done. You know how much help you're going to get from the person who sold the note, in my experience?
Zero.
Zero. Why? They already got their money. They got their money from you. They're moving on. Where's their incentive to help you? You bought the note as it was, right? So you've got to get this stuff fixed ahead of time or you walk, right? So that's why when we put these things under contract, you have outs, everybody. You might start with a letter of intent, which is, I believe, what we had in this case, a very simple letter of intent. I intend to buy it, subject to further due diligence and BPO, title report, whatever we want in there, further due diligence. And then you find this stuff and go, well, this has to be fixed. Well, we're not fixing it. Okay, see ya. No harm, no foul. Didn't have to spend any money on BPO and title. Pretty simple. But these are major issues on a deal that this would be just an absolute disaster if you bought this note and the borrower just decides to stop paying you. No penalties. You could start to foreclose. Now you're going to be fighting that whole balloon payment issue, all that sort of stuff. I mean, this is going to end up costing
Not
you
good.
some good money. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So no can do, everybody, unless they fix it all up.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just shows, I hate to say it, but there's people in this industry that learn very little about the business. They see the attraction of it, and then they go out and do these things on their own, and they just, all of a sudden another world opens up on stuff they didn't know about, and it just ends up costing you a bunch of money, and I've seen people in the past who have left the business because they made the first note, oh, no business is a disaster because, oh, I bought a note and here's what they did, and I'm always like, well, wait a minute. They didn't do anything. All right. You were the one who's responsible to do your due diligence and either walk away or renegotiate or have it fixed before you buy it. It's very, very simple, right? Don't say, oh, it's just the note business. Is it? No, 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 no. It's how you played within the note business because there's a price, everybody. There is a price to pay. So ignorance will come and bite you in the butt in this industry and every other investment that, yeah, that's out there. It'll bite you in the butt because you had lack of experience or knowledge in some of the areas. So that's why
Yeah.
we always say, pay forward. If you're going into business and this is a new business for you, wouldn't it make sense to have a consultant who could do what I just did with my other client? Is there a cost to that? Of course. But the cost of that is teaching a
Personally,
lifetime skill set moving into the
for
future
sure.
that will keep paying and paying and paying and paying, right? Versus you going in buy one note, you bought that note, I guarantee you won't be in the note business ever again because you just bought a bad note. It worked while they were paying and then they stopped. And now
Yeah.
your mentality is how do I get out of this note losing as little money as I possibly can? And it's just crazy. So yes, there's a upfront cost to doing business, starting a business, and that's why I try to tell people all the time. The cost for investing in my programs, it's a cost of setting up a business. So you want to go into this business by yourself and do it on your own with your skill set, or would you like to bring on a consultant who's got the 35 years of experience, to prevent these things from happening? Right?
No question.
Yeah. So important lessons, everybody. That's all I
Yes.
got to
Yeah.
say on that one. Um, just admin wise, I know I'm a little behind on posting the water coolers. There's still two that we have in the books that I have not posted yet because we're going to do some new style of posting. So I'm just waiting to get that all worked out, and then we'll repost some of those other water coolers there because there's some good information in all of those. Dwayne, you got anything else?
No, I am working on that the workshop that you and I are going to be doing. It's not ready yet, but that'll be coming out soon. I know, you know, June, July, or June's kind of slow time, graduations and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But it's going to be coming out soon and something to look forward to going into the end of the second half of the year, going into the third quarter. And so good training we have coming up.
cool. Yeah, so make sure you're on our social media, everybody. You can find me on X at Kevin Shortell. YouTube, we rebroadcast these there too. Like I said, I'm a couple weeks on those. I'm going to start a new rebroadcasting on YouTube. But there's a channel on there you can subscribe to. You'll be updated there. Also on LinkedIn, also on Facebook. So make sure you find us there, and we'll keep you posted on all the new activities that we are working on. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you
Sounds
enjoyed
great.
that. Dwayne, thanks as always, and
See you, bud.
we'll talk to you all again real
See you.
soon. Bye now.